to the Edifice of Trust podcast. The Edifice of Trust podcast is a thoughtful discussion of today's current events from the perspective of America's founding principles. Hello. I call this episode Diversify or Else. I have written previously about the habit of progressives to do, quote, whatever works, unquote, in order to achieve their economic or social goals. They do this because they do not want to do the research and analysis to understand the underlying reason that their goals are not being met, in order to have the information understanding needed to resolve the problems. Either that or they fear that the answer will not match their ideologically constrained beliefs. The most recent attempt to do whatever works, to make the world match their ideological preferences, is a law introduced by California State Senator Hannah Beth Jackson to require publicly traded companies domiciled in California to have at least one woman on their board of directors by the end of next year, and 2 or 3 women by 2021, depending on the size of the board. A previous law sponsored by Senator Jackson urging companies to do the right thing was to no avail, so a stricter version was soon required. Only about 17% of the boards of the company in the Russell 3000 Index, which encompasses most of the U.S. public companies, are all male. 86 of these companies are in California, including Skechers, Inc. and Stamps.com. On CNBC's Squawk Box this morning, September 5th, 2018, Senator Jackson made her case. Women make up more than half the population and make about 70% of the consumer purchase decisions. Even further, companies with women CEOs and or women on the board of directors are more profitable than companies with all-male boards. This fact has been attested to by no less than hedge fund manager and Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary, who states that he will only invest in companies with female CEOs. If this is the case, then why wouldn't a public company want more women in senior management and board positions? Why wouldn't the shareholders of such companies demand that there be more women in such positions? Actually, some, such as State Street Global Advisors and BlackRock, Inc., are doing so. But this is that hard work that progressives are loath at doing. Senator Jackson also noted that European companies have a much higher percentage of female board participation than the United States. She had to admit, however, that this was not due to the greater progressiveness of European companies, but rather to the greater progressiveness of European governments that have forced companies in Europe to put women in these positions. And so California, in its progressive wisdom, is attempting to emulate their social democratic mentors in Europe by passing a law to force women onto the boards of the recalcitrant and likely misogynistic companies. Of course, there will soon come new mandates for Black, Asian, and LGBTQ board members. The common theme in these new mandates, like all other, quote, whatever works, unquote, policies, is coercion. And only government has the power to coerce companies and the people that own them to bend to the will of these new mandates. Progressives do not have the power, or the philosophical basis, if you ask me, to accomplish this task by themselves. They want to make us do the right thing as determined by them, no matter how much we might resist. And so one more intrusion of government inches into our daily lives, and another small bit of our liberty is chipped away. Pretty soon, all companies will have a Communist Party cadre on the board of directors, in addition to the women, as President Xi is doing in China. Coercion is the basis for all the policies pushed by progressives. The state knows best. The state can nudge us in the right direction. If we are too dense to take the hint, the gentle nudge becomes a harder shove. Can the corrective labor camps be very far behind? The sad thing is that much progress has been made and is continuing to be made. In our society and our businesses are becoming more open and integrated, but not fast enough for our progressive friends and Senator Jackson. Time for a little re-education, eh? There's another thing our progressive friends should consider. What makes you think that once you have created this great and powerful government to make people do the right thing, that this government will actually adhere to your progressive agenda? There were only 4 women members of the Politburo in the entire 70-plus years of the Soviet Union. There is currently only 1 woman out of 25 on the Politburo of the Chinese Communist Party. A concentration of power attracts power-hungry people. Lobbyists, bankers, and CEOs, as well as other seekers of power, flock to Washington, D.C. because they want to capture some of the already tremendous power of government for their own advantage. You should listen to my podcast on the nature of capture. Increasing the power and scope of the government to suit your progressive agenda will not eliminate these people. It will just make them change their tactics. Don't forget, my latest book, 2017, A Trumpian Year in Review, is now available in paperback and ebook versions on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iBooks. Also available are my previous publications, Principled Policy and Edifice of Trust. And if you want some adventure, try my novel, Tawantinsuyu. More information on these books, plus links to retail outlets, is available on my website, www.edificeoftrust.com. Thank you. Welcome back. The problem of the whatever works approach is that it does not resolve the underlying problems. So coercion is needed to obtain the desired outcome. Only government has the power to coerce people to do something that does not come naturally. So progressives push for a larger and more powerful government in order to obtain the outcomes that they desire. But there is no assurance that they can control this powerful government. Powerful government attracts powerful leaders. But these leaders don't necessarily have a progressive agenda. Their agenda is to stay in power. What these leaders fear is a, quote, color revolution, unquote, as occurred in the former Eastern Bloc countries and also in the Arab Spring, because these movements threaten their control of government. Anything that threatens their control is quashed, whether it be Pussy Riot, Falun Gong, or Pride Parades. As noted by Senator Jackson, more women on corporate boards and as company CEOs is a good thing, not because of some vague notion of the benefits of diversity or gender equality, but because it is beneficial for the company's bottom line and for their shareholders. If this was an isolated exception, due to special circumstances, I suppose it could be forgiven. But this is how progressives approach every problem. Thanks for listening to my podcast. If you would like to hear more Edifice of Trust podcasts, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.